We're very happy to have you here with us tonight. We have great panelists here, and we have great news to give you as well. So I'd like to first thank the Smith School of Business and RBC for helping with this event. You are sitting where I sit every Tuesday for school, so the roles have reversed. So there is a QR code that we'll be showing. And in order to be considered for a $25 prize from RBC, you must select Toronto Women X in Data Science Conference Launch as the event you've recently attended. And it'll be included in the post-event email as well. And you have until February 7th at 11:59 p.m. to fill it out to win that $25. We do not want to leave the bank with any extra money. So if you could fill that out, that would be great. So I do have opening remarks from a special guest, Penny Santiago, who is a Senior Director, Role Design and Execution at RBC Regional Bank. So Penny is an experienced professional with strong leadership skills and business competencies built over a career focused on blending product design expertise with frontline client leadership and a strong technology background. In her current role as a Senior Director, Role Design and Execution, Penny is accountable for the role design and practice management for thousands of frontline client-facing roles, as well as the role design and delivery in support of our distribution transformation journeys. In over 10 years working with the Royal Bank of Canada, Penny has worked with a breadth of amazing teams spanning roles as diverse as client-facing retail regional vice president in the Toronto market, to strategic product development in our early digital payment strategy, to the development of client experience practice in our technology infrastructure area. As you can tell, I did not change it from R, so just bear with me and imagine I work at RBC. Penny joined RBC in 2008 from the global automotive industry, where she spent 8 years on a variety of global design projects as a mechanical engineer, designing engine components and alternative fuel vehicles. I did not think that was going to come up in this bio. She holds an MBA from the Schulich School of Business, and she also holds both a bachelor degree in mechanical engineering and a bachelor degree in computer programming. She's also passionate about supporting the community, currently sitting on the boards of both the Humber Meadows Long-Term Care and the Black Business and Professional Association. Let's welcome Penny.
I feel like that was a really long bio, so I'm going to keep the introductory words shorter so you guys can get into this amazing panel. I hear that the panelists are excited to talk to you tonight. So I just want to take a moment to invite you to the opening event for the Toronto Women in Data Science Conference launch. That was hard. I was afraid I was going to get the launch name wrong, but I'm glad I got through that. RBC is proud to be a gold sponsor of this event and this conference for the last couple of years, and we're excited to partner with you not only this year, but in many years to come. So making a commitment on behalf of the company that you have recorded. So this is my first Toronto Women in Data Science event. And when I was asked to speak here, I thought there's no doubt in my mind, I really want to come out and meet a bunch of aspiring, amazing, talented women in tech. I have been in so many conferences where you're here to learn and share and really, really engage with one another. At RBC, diversity and inclusion is more than a value. It's core to our purpose and a true engine for our innovation, economic prosperity. As Canada's biggest bank and the top global financial institution, we're committed to playing an active leadership role in accelerating a more equitable, inclusive, and sustainable society. And you know, that means that we have to actually walk the talk. Our vision is to be among the most inclusive workplaces, putting diversity into action to help our colleagues, our clients, our communities, and all around us thrive. And it's one of the reasons that we're here sponsoring this event today. RBC is also actively involved in the tech community. We are cultivating valuable partnerships with over 50 strategic institutions and organizations like the Toronto Women in Data Science. As an organization like this, not only builds strong community of like-minded, technology-focused women, but also helps us to attract the best talent. So hint, hint, if you're excited about working at RBC, we're excited to have you. And it provides growth, mentorship, and industry involvement opportunities for both current and prospective employees. So as a woman who has built a lot of my career path working in both finance and tech and blending the two, I know really how impactful these types of events can be. These are the types of events that help you grow your community and your network. It helps you elevate your career and grow your talent pool. Coming up in RBC, so many of these programs were critical to my success and really helped me to gain the skills, the advice, and the direction that I needed. I couldn't have got to what I love to do and what I enjoy doing without the sponsorship and the community and the network and people to lean on in so many different points. And so I'm happy to see this being continuing and us being able to really drive. All the hallmarks of a company like RBC, we truly put value on diversity and inclusion, opportunity, employment, and growth. So without further ado, I hope you find tonight's event and conversation very meaningful and inspiring and have an opportunity to really connect with one another later. Kishwana, over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Penny. So before I introduce our panelists, I want to run through some things and I want to tell you some exciting things as well. So first order of business. My name is Kishwana Pack. I'm the CEO of Toronto Women X in Data Science. We are celebrating our 5th year and this is our 6th conference. So we've come a long way. We've never had a launch event before. So that's definitely something new. And I'm so excited to be able to have the panelists we have today to honor our first launch event. So we believe that anyone can become data lit in partnering with organizations where women can thrive, like RBC. More women should be the creators and not just the consumers of data products. So our 6th annual conference and awards is on April 26th and 27th. Early bird tickets end tonight. If you've made some friends, you actually get an additional discount for groups of 4. And I also have a special announcement. We have confirmed our keynote speaker, and our keynote speaker is Dr. Timnit Jabru.
Sorry, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was gasps were happening in the room, not silence, just so everyone knows. So we also have a resource hub. So if you were looking for any study guides, videos, or podcasts to listen to, we have that to help you with your data literacy journey. We also have a podcast. 2 of our favorite from RBC are using AI for data profiling and quality control with Claudia Cabas. And the second one on screen just happens to be me. But if you want to listen to that one, you can. And we also have a 100 days of code challenge. So that's when you commit to learning how to code for 100 days. It's going to start in the fall. So kids go back to school. And if you want to take yourself back to school and learn how to code, we have that happening in the fall. We also have our job board. So if you're looking for your next move, we have our roles up there. Of course, RBC and Borealis roles are there as well. Penny, you just heard from Penny for welcome remarks. And now I get to tell my panelists to come on stage, but I want it to be dramatic, so I'm gonna do it one by one. So the first panelist to the stage is Rosemary Patrick, a data scientist, Chief Data Office at our Royal Bank of Canada. Rose is a data scientist in the Chief Data Office at RBC. In her role, she specializes in leveraging large data sets and leading edge technologies to discover business improvements and new growth opportunities for RBC. Prior to a career transition in the world of data, she spent over 14 years as an Instrumentation and Controls Engineer, spanning multiple industries such as energy, petrochemical, manufacturing, and pharmaceuticals. She completed a Bachelor's of Science and Master of Science in Electrical and Computer Engineering from the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago. Let's welcome Rosemary to the stage. And continuing with my dramatics, our next panelist is Obiamaka Agbanis, machine learning engineer at Sterling Capital Brokers. Obiamaka is a machine learning engineer at Sterling Capital Brokers with over a decade of experience in the IT industry and 5 years of experience in data science and machine learning, working in the telco, travel, and financial services industries. She's a specialist in data pipeline architecture, warehousing, and modeling. She has expertise in designing, building, and deploying data pipelines using various big data technologies. Obiamaka is also well-versed in using AWS cloud services and Databricks for data storage and processing. Additionally, she's an active Python and data engineering community member and regularly shares her knowledge through speaking engagements and contributing to open source projects. She's excited to be speaking at this event about her experience working as a data professional. Let's welcome her to the stage. Our next speaker is Yinka Adegbusi, Marketing Insights Manager at KPMG. Yinka is a data analytics professional with a deep passion for data and its impact on business decisions. She has in-depth knowledge and experience in analytics subject matter, including data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and insights reporting. She has held various analytical roles, including program manager at Microsoft, data scientist at the Ontario Ministry of Education, as well as in various industries, including telecommunications, commercial insurance, and consumer goods. I really should have gave you a quiz to try to see if you could remember all these panelists, where she utilized her data analytics background to analyze business data, construct machine learning models, and present actionable insights that empower organizations in making data-driven decisions. Yinka developed her passion for data during her studies in physics and mathematics at Queen's. Let me say it again. She developed her passion for data during her studies in physics and mathematics at Queen's. We are at Queen's if you don't catch the joke. She currently works at KPMG Canada as a market insights manager, where she leverages data analytics to provide insights that enable business leaders to make data-driven decisions. Let's welcome Yinka to the stage. And last but definitely not least, we have Sifu Lenjeni. Now, if I could write a poem for Sifu, Sifu has been my right hand, helping me plan these events since I met her. We met virtually, and we actually didn't meet in person for like 2 years. But she's been the person behind the magic with the conference. So Sifu, I'm gonna speak as if I don't know her, is a data scientist at Shopify on the capital algorithms team. She's dedicated to empowering millions of entrepreneurs and businesses of all sizes on the global commerce platform by building and scaling algorithm-based products. Prior to making a career transition to data science, Sifu obtained a Master's of Science in Anesthesia from the University of Michigan, Flint and Hurley Medical Center. As an advanced practice nurse, she was dedicated to clinical excellence and leadership in critical care, trauma, anesthesia, and surgery. When Sifu is not doing data, she enjoys mentoring people from a variety of professional backgrounds aspiring to make the jump into data. Let's welcome Sifu to the stage. You all can take a seat. I'll stop over here. The mics are for. All right. So, as you can tell, we started a little bit late, so I'm gonna be quick with these questions, and I don't want you guys taking too much time. I'm joking. Okay, so how did you first become interested in data? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first, yes. I started on data about 8 years ago. I was introduced to data by my friend introduced me to data when I was working with the Pi ladies in Lagos, Nigeria. And then from then I started taking some classes in Coursera. I don't know if you're familiar with machine learning by Andrew Ng. So that was the first time I got introduced to data. And from then on, I decided to do a master's degree in data science at Robert Gordon University in Scotland. And when I moved to Canada, I decided to continue my journey by getting a job in data engineering and then machine learning engineering. So that was how I got into data.
Sure. So yeah, actually, I did not know about data science until about probably less than 5 years ago. As from my bio, I wasn't actually in instrumentation and control engineering for a while. And then when I moved to Canada, I thought, okay, I'm definitely gonna get into tech because I always loved coding. So that was my main motivation. So I learned Python. And from there, I realized, oh, there's something called data science, data engineering, machine learning. this is interesting. So I I kind of went down the rabbit hole from there. I did some courses online, Coursera as well. And then I got a certificate in machine learning engineering. And I started applying for jobs, and that's kind of how I got my start. A bit of a stumble into it, but yeah, here I am.
Next, can you hear me? Okay, great. So my journey is very similar to Rose. I actually fell into it. I discovered data analytics by accident. So thanks to Shoppers Drug Mart. So every month I used to buy this product from Shoppers. And I remember at the end of each year, they would tell me, "Oh, thank you for being a great client. We think you like this." So they will always send me that sample every year as a gift. And then at the 30, I'm like, how do they know? Like, what is going on? So I started doing research, and then I discovered data analytics, and I discovered the story of how Target was able to predict that the daughter was pregnant before the dad because of the type of product she's ordering. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. It's creepy, but cool. So, so I just started like learning a little bit more about it. And then I found out that my background being in physics and mathematics, I already have that covered. So I started learning also on the side. I started taking courses on DataCam, Coursera. So I was able to essentially cover that business analytics, data analytics aspect. And over time, I just started learning more about it, and I started moving my career more towards it. From just like reporting, I was able to learn more about data analytics and the application of analytics to business and business decision. So that's essentially how I got into data.
I did not know that data was part of my destiny. I worked in healthcare for a very long time, was very satisfied with what I was doing there. I felt like it gave me purpose. I was very passionate about it. I was saving lives, but since I've moved to data, I've been able to save livelihoods using the skills of data at Shopify. There's a point in my career where I was kind of becoming a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. As you can imagine from the bio, you heard that I was involved in things like trauma, critical care, anesthesia, but it's a lot of excitement all the time. And I was at a point in my career where I was looking to do something a little bit different. And I found that as I was speaking more with decision makers, I was able to make a lot of impact whenever I was able to back it up with evidence. I didn't know that that was the beginnings of the makings of a data scientist at that time. But I found that I started to find a thrill in that, the process of seeking that evidence, making some kind of, taking those assumptions and telling a story from it, and being able to convince people of different ideas based on what we were finding in that data. A little while later, as I'm having these thoughts, but very comfortable in my career, I mean, cozy, I made the move with my family to Canada, and I decided at that time that if I was ever gonna make the jump, it was gonna be now or never. So I threw it all on the line, took some courses, attended a boot camp, and basically leveled up my skills and did some mentoring, or received some mentoring, and helped put me on the path to being a data scientist. And that's what I'm doing now.
It sounds like a lot of by accidents, a lot of risk taking, a lot of, I didn't know it was going to lead me here. Also a lot of observation to like notice the world around you and wonder how that's going to work, which I'm sure you all have had that moment too. So data roles do look different. So sometimes a data analyst role is really a data scientist role, and sometimes a data scientist role is really a data analyst role. Can you tell us a little bit about what your week is like? I'll start with Rosemary at the end.
Okay, so a typical week for me is start off with just meeting with my team to find out, okay, what's the progress on what our projects are or what we intend to do for this week. Also, during that time, I guess we also share ideas and information. Something might be interesting to someone else, so they wanted to find out more. It's pretty short, but at least we get our ideas across. And then I just go into my projects that I have for the day. A lot of it is really just going through a lot of data, like so much data. So yeah, just being able to get access to it or to speak to whoever owns it that I need to get it, trying to understand what it is, what I need to do with it. And maybe, speak to like the business stakeholder who's giving us the project, trying to figure out, okay, what it is you need me to do or to get from this data. So a lot of working with the data and then trying to come up with solutions to that.
Don't make me pick. One of you go next.
A typical week for me is kind of similar to Rosemary's, in the sense that I talk with my team members like at the beginning of the week about like current projects we're working on, if there's anything we have to carry over from last week to this week. Talking with business stakeholders in my company about like maybe business logic. Maybe I'm trying to figure out some SQL code. Maybe I don't really understand where to get the different source, the data, where I can get the data from. So I talk with like the stakeholders, the product managers, to figure out where I can get the data from. And then I could also do a bit of coding that week, or I could be working on documentation on a project I've already finished working on. That's basically what I do. Similar to what Rosemary does. Because I'm also a machine learning engineer, I also have to do some research on algorithms that we're going to be working on based on what the business stakeholders want for the business. And I think that's about it.
We just go in order. So my week is largely, it's not typical. I guess that's the best way to put it. It's all based on whatever project that we're working on. Again, as a market insights manager, so I'm part of the national and marketing communications team. So we work very closely with the business. So our responsibility essentially is to provide actionable insights for the business. So we're working with different area of the business, of the KPMG business. So my typical week usually starts with having a meeting with our entire team. So our director, my performance manager, just to essentially go over, like, it's essentially like a sprint. So we all go over, this is what we're doing this week. This is our focus for the week. And then after the meeting, again, based on the project, sometimes I may be meeting with the stakeholders just to clarify their request or their requirement, or, presenting whatever reporting solution or whatever product that we're delivering for them, presenting to them, getting their feedback in order to improve and iterate on the project. Sometimes I can also be doing some machine learning in Azure, using tools like Azure. Sometimes I can just be building reports using tools like Microsoft Power BI, or sometimes I can just be presenting or preparing for like a pitch. So essentially my week is not really typical, but it's all pretty much based on the project. But again, the goal is always to keep in mind the deliverable for the business and then the value that I'm delivering for the business.
I think you made a really good point about there's no such thing as a typical week. And I think if you're looking for typical in data, you might need to exit the building right now. But what I can say is everything that everyone has said on the panel so far kind of mirrors some of the priorities that happen throughout the week, a typical week where I'm working at. But just so I don't rehash everything everyone said, maybe I'd like to highlight what my favorite part of the week is. A constant staple that happens throughout every part of every week. Where I work at, there's a really big emphasis on pair programming. And what that is where two people come together and you program and you work on some code together. Initially, I thought it was kind of crazy. I was like, are they really trying to pay two of us to do the same thing here? What is going on? But I find that once you start to get in the groove of the essence of pair programming, initially it's kind of slow and it might not seem productive, but what it does is it really helps you start to learn and become better technically, and even just in the way you think about through the logic of certain things. And I found that the most growth that I've had is during those sessions where I am pairing with other people. It's a little intimidating at first because you go in and you feel like, you know, you're the weakest link, but there's been times where I've walked into those sessions and I come out feeling like, wait a minute, I kind of did something there. So that's my favorite part of the week. And maybe that just kind of lies in the fact that I really love the technical side of the work that we do. I definitely think that all these aspects come into play, and you can't be successful in the data career unless you're able to gravitate and latch onto each and every one of these different skill sets. But it was a long time before I ever started coding. So once I caught the bug, you know, I'm stuck. I'm here now. So.
Well, what I heard is that, first of all, it's not typical across any of your days. Second of all, you're not behind a computer coding all day. That's a myth for data roles. You have the chance to speak and communicate with different teams, different stakeholders, different people, which we all knew, but here confirmed it. My next question is something that I always hear at every conference. I'm speaking about our conference. So the ideal data professional is a mix of communication skills, technical skills, and business subject matter expertise. Which are your strongest, and how do you work on developing the other ones? And I'll start with Yinka. That's to keep you guys on your
Lucky
toes.
number one. So you mentioned domain expertise, technical skills, and communication. For sure, all three avenues are very, very important if you're going to be in the data field. For me, what is my strongest? I would definitely say domain expertise. So again, from my background, physics and math, so the skill sets, you know, coding, all that stuff is almost like second nature to me. So for me, I had to essentially put in the work to learn more about the business, because no matter how fancy your code is, no matter how fancy your algorithm is, you still have to be able to apply it to the business domain. So I ensured that I focus more on understanding the business domain. For example, if you're working with a marketing company, right, the way you apply analytics or data science to that is very different from, like, say, healthcare or finance or X or Y or Z. So over time, I've noticed that by me focusing on learning more about the domain, you know, understanding the business better and working closely with the business, I'm able to better translate their requirements or what they need. Because sometimes they can ask you very vague questions like, I want $10 million in revenue, like tomorrow. I'll be like, okay. But being able to explain to them, like, okay, if this is what you want, this is how DNA, data and analytics, can help you get there. And here are the recommendations to get there. So I would say that's my strongest domain. Do I say one is better than the other? No, I think essentially if we think of like a Venn diagram, all three are essentially required to make you a data expert. I'll pass on the mic.
So I would say that my strongest skill would be technology, and I would say my weakest would be communication, especially speaking, and that's one of the reasons why I took this opportunity to be in this panel to improve on that. In terms of communication, I think I'm better at writing than speaking. What's the last one? There are three skills.
Subject matter expertise.
Okay, so at my company, I've been working there for like 6 months, and it's an insurance brokerage. So I'm still trying to learn the new terms. Before that, I was working at a payments processing company, and I had to learn like the business, what ACH meant, what's the other thing for in payments processing, like the different terms that they use. And then here I had to learn about like what's a premium, what's a claim, what do all these things mean? What's a loss ratio? So it's been really interesting, even though I'm still learning this, the subject matter, that's the business logic. It's really interesting meeting and chatting with different people on different teams about the business. So that's one thing that I find interesting about data science, the fact that you can learn, like, even if, like, yes, you know how to code and you know how to communicate, you also have to learn the subject matter, and it's different from one company to the other. And you can, as you um, like, if you want to switch, I think the most important thing is, in my opinion, it would be learning the technology and the communication. So the subject matter can be learned if you're open to learning new things.
Rosemary?
Yeah, so I'm definitely coming from an engineering background, so I would say technical skills for sure. I'm a coder all day long since I was in undergrad. And I know some people be like, what is she talking about? But I like math. I like math, I like coding. So that's, to me, it's what makes me, I guess, so comfortable in data science. And the other skills, communication, and as well as subject matter expertise is what I say I'm continuously learning on. So for communication, for me, it's all about practice. So yeah, like Obi says, it's just being here, just being able to practice getting ideas across, especially even from week to week at work. It's just, okay, well, I've worked on this project, and now I need to let the business stakeholder know, okay, this is what I've accomplished, and this is how it benefits you, benefits your department, and benefits the company. So, I mean, just learning how to put my ideas across in a way that would be beneficial and educational for someone who wants to get my knowledge and my expertise and skills into a project and get something out of it. I feel like that's one of the ways that I definitely am working on and continuously working on, just to practice and just my everyday job. And I also, with the subject matter expertise, yet again, coming from engineering to banking, I definitely have a learning curve with that. So I feel that's something that's just going to come over time, facing more challenges, more problems, and just, through educating myself, investing in my time and learning about the industry and how I can apply it to my projects is how I'm going to improve with that.
So when I put on my cape, I'm probably going to communicate. That's my superpower. I come from a background where communication was very key, both in speaking with, at the time, I would have to speak with patients and speak to them with empathy and in a way that they could understand, but also speak with very technically astute people such as surgeons. Also had to speak with people that were in the C-suite. So I had to be able to learn how to switch the language in a way that they could understand and have impact with the words that I was making. So those skills that I was developing, even though it was in a completely different realm, I was able to transfer those into my data science role currently. I think my favorite skill probably of all of those is, I don't know, I'm just kind of a coding nerd. Like, I just love it. I don't know, like, where has it been all my life? So I really enjoy it, but I would dare to say that you absolutely can't have one without the other and think you're going anywhere. You must have all three, and you must find a way to develop all of those. And I take my hat off to you for saying that you're doing this, even though it's something that you wouldn't want to do. And I would like to pose that challenge to all of us. Let's get out there and do something that we're not that comfortable with. And as we do that, we'll actually find that we grow just personally and also professionally. That's how we develop. And I just think that having all three of those, you become a better data practitioner, because the sum of all those parts is greater than each of those individually. So
that's how you build a unicorn right there, a data unicorn. So if you're trying to become one, work on your Venn diagram. So the audience wants to know, I'm assuming, how you all stay current with all the developments in the field. There are a lot. It is constantly changing. Let's start with Rosemary.
Sure. So for me, one of the main ones, although there are many, but one of the main ones is I just Google everything. I'm always on the internet Googling. But no, definitely just like the latest trends, they always pop up. There are a lot of articles that come up. I mean, ChatGPT was like a very popular one. So I'm like immediately, what is that? How do I use it? What, you know? So I feel like it's always just definitely keeping current, looking at the latest articles. A lot of times there's a lot of knowledge sharing as well. So like I would be part of teams where we would have articles from different publications. They do presentations on the latest in machine learning and AI. So even just from that, you get different ideas. Oh, I didn't know you can do that, or this had this application. So for me, it was a lot of, talking to people, getting their thoughts on new ideas, presentations from articles, and yeah, just Googling if something I don't know, I'm just gonna go Google it.
Yeah, the same thing. I would agree with Rosemary about Googling. That's the number one way of finding information. Another thing I do is I follow a lot of influencers that are in AI and the data engineer and the data science space. One person that I enjoy her blog is Vicky Boykis. She's a machine learning engineer. Another person I would recommend to follow would be sorry.
Dig deep.
Sorry.
There's a lot in that brain.
He's a data engineer. His name is the Seattle data guy. He's a very popular YouTuber and data engineer that writes a lot of articles on LinkedIn, and he has a blog as well on Medium and Substack. So Substack is another interesting blogging website where you can find a lot of people that write about the latest trends in data science, software engineering, and machine learning. So that I would recommend checking out Substack and also Twitter as well. There are a lot of good people to follow on Twitter.
So again, I don't want to repeat what everyone said, but for me, again, I'm a very lazy person. It doesn't look like it, but I'm actually a very lazy person. So what I do is I like the information to come to me. So similar to what Rosemary does is like I just have a sort of like a what's it called, like a notification set on Google or like Google Alerts on specific topics. So like when I wake up in the morning or when I'm checking my stuff, so it's like Google is so smart, it just kind of organizes everything for you. So again, similar also to Obi Amaka is that I also follow influencers on LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn is your best friend. Like, so what you can do is follow people like Ali K. Miller, because again, I'm more on the business side of analytics. So she did her MBA, I believe, at Wharton. So she's very good when it comes to AI, the business side of AI. And so I follow her. She's always posting. She has a YouTube channel. That's actually how I heard about ChatGPT. I'm like, what's ChatGPT? But because the information just get pushed to you, right? Things get busy. Just having like some sort of like information put to you. I also sign up for like newsletter, podcast, Super Data Science. So they always have like podcasts every week. So it's essentially what I do is like I just set like notifications and I just like all the information come to me. So that's essentially how I keep up to date. And then if I really want to like do, hard work, grunt work, or if I really want to learn about things, that's when I use Google. But like I said, the lazy way is the easiest way.
So I would say, yes, Google is my friend too. I would say definitely there's two things that could keep you like in touch with what's happening in the world around us. Did I say two? Curiosity and an open mind. And the reason I say that is we know these interwebs are full of like all the information under the sun. Like there is a plethora of information out there. There's not enough time in the world to be able to find all of it. But if you stay curious and open-minded, this is going to direct the path that you take for that learning. And I say curiosity because that's the seed that you have to plant to be able to access that information. That's what's going to allow you to dig deep into the topics that you find you start to have a passion for. You're going to find stuff that you're like, okay, yeah, that's interesting, but not for me. But it's in this digging that you're doing. It's through this process of curiosity that you start to find the things that you really have a passion for, and you'll inadvertently start to hone in on those things. I also say keep an open mind, because sometimes we have this tendency to box ourselves into what it is we're going to do, and more specifically, what it is we're not going to do. I came from healthcare, and I was certain that when I moved into the space of data science, I would stay within healthcare. It was within keeping that open mind that I ended up in e-commerce, and boy, do I love it. Like if you had asked me this 5 years ago, I would have said, none of the way, never, no way, no how. But it was within keeping an open mind that I was able to see opportunities in a different space that looked different, but actually surprisingly had a lot of similarities, because on the other end of that data is a human being. At the other end of that data is a merchant that we're obsessed with at Shopify. And it just reminded me of the same feeling I would get when I would be able to help someone in the hospital that was a patient. And so I would say, just be curious, be open-minded, and also within the realm of where you work, find an employer that really champions for that. I'm fortunate that I work at a place where continued development and learning is strongly promoted and encouraged. And I would say a lot of companies right now are really pushing for that, because the product that's delivered for whoever the end of that product, whoever the customer is, be it a merchant, be it a patient, be it a client, be it whoever, it's not until your practitioners really understand the flow of how this data is and know the newest technologies to be able to advance that your end customer gets the true benefit of that. So I would say, like, just double down, find an employer that's gonna help promote and develop that. Because sometimes getting educated about the latest and greatest, it does come at a cost, and some employers are willing to bear that cost. But it doesn't matter how much money they throw at you. If you don't have the curiosity or the open-mindedness, that ground is not fertile for that learning to develop.
Sounds like it's a package deal. It also sounds like this panel might be sponsored by Google. I'm sure there's other ways that they learn, but search engines is what you should be looking into. I know we could have an entire panel on this, but can you speak to the importance of representation in the field and its impact on your career journey and what you're doing to give back? I'm going to start it Sifu's way. And I'm going to time you because I feel like we could be here all day. Not you, all of you. So I'm going to like do a snap when your time's up.
But you looked at me when you said that.
You're the only eyes I can see. I can't see anyone else.
But I'm probably guilty. So representation definitely matters. And that in and of itself is an essay. And I've been warned that I can't do that right now, so I won't. Representation is important because it allows us to feel like we belong in a space. It allows us to be able to participate to our maximum capacity. And we're all better for it because we're able to engage to the maximum extent. And I'll just say, like, the way that I feel that I give back is I try to stay pretty active on LinkedIn, and I specifically seek out and solicit people who look like me, who have the same story as me. Not exclusively, but I can resonate. I feel like I can resonate with those people because they then have someone that they can look up to, and they then have the ability to be able to say, wow, if she can do it, well, maybe there's some chance that this is something I can do. I love to mentor. So I've recently taken part in a mentorship called Black and Brilliant that emphasized on early career starters, and most of them were based on the African continent. So that was very near and dear to me. So just finding ways to give back, to allow people to see themselves in the work that you do, And that's what I try to do.
You did great. Only 1 minute. Let's go. Yinka.
Okay, let's do this. Representation does matter, especially as a woman, but also as a woman of color. So I'll give a great example is that I knew I wanted to be in the AI space. I knew I wanted to be a data scientist, but I just had this kind of like cloudy vision of what I wanted or where I see my career going. I'm an entrepreneur. I love being an entrepreneur. I also love working in 9 to 5. So for me, when I talk to, I don't want to say anything, but when I talk to men, one thing I'm always being said is like, no, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to stay in this box, X, Y, Z. But then discovering women like Ali K. Miller, discovering other ladies on Instagram that, they're actually influencers, coaching people to data science. I got to see that, there are some women who are 9 to 5. They're doing 9 to 5, their own side hustle, but they're also in the data space. So representation really matters because it just kind of helps you clarify your vision, and it can even help you kind of align where you want to do or what you want to do, and you don't feel like you're limited. So that's one thing for sure. Is also, if you feel like this is what you want to do and you feel like all the information that you're being encountered is almost like it's limiting you or putting you in a box, just keep searching, just keep looking. Again, you're around amazing women. Network, take the time right now to network, because you would discover like, oh, whatever idea you have, somebody somewhere can be here to mentor or coach you or even connect you with somebody, right, that can really help push you further. So yeah, representation definitely matters.
You all are doing great. Next.
Like Sifu and Yinka said, representation is very important. It matters a lot. So for me, one way that I try to contribute to helping with diversity is by working, taking part in workshops for women. For example, back in Nigeria, I was part of the organizers of Pi Ladies Lagos, where we had workshops on data science, software engineering, web development to try to encourage women to join tech in general, not just data science. And also Django Girls was another workshop that I took part in to help encourage women who were curious, maybe not so, but at least have that opportunity to be like, okay, I like tech, or I don't, tech is not my thing. At least give them the opportunity to know that this field is available to them to explore, and if it's something they're interested in doing, they are more than welcome to be a part of it. And also to make them understand that data science is not is a pretty broad is a very broad field. Like there's so much to do in data science. Like you don't just have to be like a data scientist. You can work as a data product manager or a data analyst, or like it's a very huge field. And sometimes like data and AI seem very intimidating to a lot of people. They think that it's this thing that they can't access, or it's difficult to break into. But like creating workshops where you just start with like simple coding, like, okay, what's a variable, what's a computer, even starting from that would be very helpful in bringing in a more diverse bringing more diversity into the data space.
And Rosemary.
So yeah, for me, I think it's definitely important. I think it's we have to, at least I'm borrowing this line, lack of diversity just means a lack of diverse thought. And we're producing AI systems that go out into a diverse society. So it's only fair that, representation truly means representing different facets of society. So I think it's something that I don't take lightly. I mean, I guess I'm here now and I'm very privileged to be part of a team that's actually probably majority women actually. So that's really good. But I don't want to just rest on my laurels like, yeah, okay, great. We got a diverse team, everything's great. I always look for opportunities to mentor others and to tell them how to get there. As I put it, bring someone else along. Don't just come and sit at the table, bring someone else with you. So for me, it's always about, mentoring and reaching out, helping people when, they ask questions. I always have my friends who want to know, okay, how did you do this? What do I do? So I'm always ready to, to help out and to give advice and to, put in the work in there with them. So I feel like that's important just to be able to get other thoughts, other perspectives, other experiences in the room as well.
Okay, and I'm gonna stay with you, Rosemary. I want to know, what is your prediction for the AI field in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah,
No pressure.
Yeah, that's like a really broad question. But I mean, just to like narrow it down to, I'll just pick one aspect. I feel like for us, a lot of talk is on climate change and stuff like that. So I feel like that could be one really good application where you can use data to be able to analyze, how the climate is changing, what major events have happened, how we can predict them, how we can better create a better response to them. Even looking at things like energy efficiency and carbon emissions, reducing carbon emissions. So I feel like it's a great application that we can apply in the future since it's something that's going to affect us or has already started affecting us actually, if you think about it. So that's, I think, one good way to be able to tackle it is to throw some AI at it.
Obi?
In the next 5 to 10 years, I would say more automation of actual jobs that people do, and then that would create more jobs, like new jobs, sets of jobs. So because of AI, is like, for example, ChatGPT is helping with like things like copywriting. It also kind of helps with maybe pair programming. Maybe that's where AI would go to. But I know maybe some people may be worried that it might take away some jobs, but I also think it would create more new set of jobs for people. So I think that's where it's going to go, more automation of jobs.
And new sets of jobs requiring new sets of skills.
Yeah.
Lincoln, what do you have to build on that?
Yeah, so I think, again, I don't want to duplicate what you said, but I think in the next 5 years, there will be a lot of generative AI. So AI that just kind of tries to think and act as human being. So there will be a lot more things such as, yes, very similar to ChatGPT, but like right now, things that, maybe you always have to train the model or train the machine, it just kind of does it by itself. So it's almost like we'll all have like a personal PA, instead of us, a lot of things that we spend brain power doing, AI will be able to do that for us. So that might cause some sort of friction at the very beginning, but I think over time, there will be that sort of like human AI working together. So I think as we get to like year 10, that's when we'll start to see like AI just becomes embedded in every area of our lives. Things that people used to think like maybe embedding technologies into our eyes, into our ears, just to like augment what we do. So yeah, augmentation. I think as we get to like that closer to 10 years, we'll see a lot more augmentation when it comes to AI. I also think lastly, specifically when it comes to like food, like for example, farming, AI would really, really help out a lot with that. For example, droughts, how do we plant better, when it comes to like vertical famine, how do we build plants that, resistant to like droughts, resistant to like all this insects, and also even building or construction, right? if AI is already built in the building, things that take us a little bit longer to do, now we have AI to do it at a much quicker and faster rate. So that's just kind of, yes, it might eliminate some jobs, which will cause that friction in the beginning, but then it will also create even more jobs for us in the future.
So I think everyone touched on some really good points about automation. I think we're going to continue to see what happens if I get this right in 5 to 10 years.
I have nothing to give you. I have absolutely nothing to give you.
I think what we'll start to see is the world will continue to become a much smaller and smaller place as AI and different facets of that continue to grow. I think we'll start to see higher adoption rates in other areas. I know it's not as clear to us because everyone here is probably in the tech space, but I know coming from healthcare, healthcare tends to be a very late adopter of certain things, and within good reason. I mean, people's lives are at stake. A lot of times there's things like privacy and issues like that. And so I think there's a lot more care that goes into such things such as deploying AI in some of those very critical areas. But I think we'll get to a point where we're starting to have a better understanding and ironing out some of those kinks to where there's a higher adoption in more fields. The only thing that I fear about AI is I hope we don't get to a point where it divides us in terms of those who have access to be able to know about it and be able to participate in it. And so I think this is really beautiful to see everyone who's in this room today. I think we should continue to stay passionate about that and make sure that we're included in those conversations and those futures that AI holds for us.
Excellent. So my last question, what is your last piece of advice for the audience? And it's probably not the last because we're about to open up Q&A. But I don't know, I want to try something different. I want to try from like the middle. So Obi Amaka, I'll start with you.
Okay, so my advice for anyone that wants to break into the data space is always be learning. I think that's basically all the advice I can give. Like there's with data and tech in general, everything, there's always new technology, there's always something new coming out, there's always new programming languages that you're trying to adopt to use for AI. Like there's Julia, there's R, there's Scala, you also have to keep abreast of all these different technologies and different algorithms. So you always have to keep learning. And another thing is if you can learn from the ground up. So if you can learn at least how a computer works, that would be really, really helpful over time as you, well, I think I'm talking from my own experience as a data engineer and machine learning engineer. It's really important to like understand how the system works, and then from there you can understand coding and then understand data. That's my advice.
I'll go next. So you guys probably heard this saying, there's an app for that. So think there's the AI for that. Whatever you want to do, whatever you're thinking of learning, doing, whatever, there's an AI for that. So one thing I would say, just to add to what Obi said, is that stay curious, stay learning, but also take things one step at a time, because, you know, AI is kind of like that new sexy woman in the building. So everyone wants a piece of her. So, you know, there's so many information being hurled at us, right? And it can be very overwhelming, especially if you're just starting in the field. The thing is like, just take your time, right? Stay curious, take your time, and also try to align. There's a role or there's a place in data and AI for everybody. You don't have to be hard on coda, right? You can be like a product manager. You can be, you know, like a technical writer. You don't have to necessarily be like a coder to be in the data or AI space. So that's one thing I will definitely say. Like, yeah, for sure, stay curious, stay motivated, and honestly, just like whatever it is that you're passionate about too, if you're passionate about like maybe sustainability, you're passionate about, I don't know, ESG, you're passionate about, I don't know, hair, I don't know, shampoo, whatever, learn about the data or analytics or AI from that field, because in that way you kind of you don't get stressed out, right? Trying to learn something new, but again, by aligning AI or data with what you're passionate about, you're most likely to stick to it in the long run. Because sometimes it might get a little bit difficult, but again, try to kind of like align your passion, or try to sort of carve your niche or find your passion in data and AI. So yeah.
Sifit?
Be a good human being. No matter what it is that you love to do, technical or otherwise, nobody wants to work with an asshole. And you'll get very far in your career if you position yourself such that people feel like the room lights up when you walk in. I'm not saying that you have to, be an extrovert if you're not, an introvert if you're not. Just be yourself, but be someone that people find pleasure in being around. People, someone who's coachable, someone who's teachable, but also someone who's willing to give a helping hand, in the situation where you might be the expert in the room, do so in a way that is gentle and caring and empathetic to the problem that's being solved. And I just think that it's very easy to get caught in, the technical stuff and say, oh, I've got to learn this, I've got to learn that. But at the end of the day, everybody can learn the technical stuff, but I don't necessarily want to work with every single person. So that's something that can set you apart if you're looking for a new career opportunity. I don't know what stage everyone is in their career, but if you're going to be a leader, if you're going to be someone who people look up to, at any stage throughout your career, you want to be someone that people actually want to be around and want to listen to, because whatever impact or insights that you've drawn from the data, people are more likely, it's going to fall on like ears that are ready to hear you if they actually like you or tolerate you. So be good human beings. And also, don't be afraid to connect with people. This is a networking event. So reach out to people on LinkedIn. I hope I'm not reaching here, but I'm assuming if you're at this event, you want to be connected with people. And that's a good way to start and be able to build your network.
And last but not least, Rosemary.
Yeah, she just stole my answer. Anyways. But no, in addition to, I was just going to say, definitely find your people. Just be able to network, find people who you can learn from and pick their brains and just learn how they do data. I mean, it'll always be data science, it may be data analyst, maybe data engineer, find out how their typical week has gone. And then to add on to what everybody else has said, I would also say get your hands dirty. Definitely get down into learning how to clean data. It's not the most glamorous part of it, but it's a necessary part of it. Learn how, just how different models are applied. Maybe even learn some of the math behind it if you're into that. But just try to understand and get a project from conception all the way through conceptualization all the way through to deployment to see how it is in the real world. I know a lot of people go to Kaggle, which is great. I'm not knocking Kaggle, but also try to do some unorthodox data sets where it's not all cleaned or perfect. Use that opportunity to be able to learn to glean some different insights, unusual insights. Find projects that you might be really interested in. I mean, I was talking to someone who was like, we should do a sentiment analysis on Kardashians or something. Something that would be interesting to encourage you to work a project all the way through. It'll be a cool addition to your portfolio. You never know, you might be able to use it in an interview. So, definitely be proactive about learning, get your hands dirty.
Amazing advice from our panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. Now we will go to the questions from the audience. So you just have to use this link with this number that's up here. and I will read them as they come through. So I do have some already. I will be reading the questions from the back. Pretend that my name is Professor Peck, and I will do what I need to do. So the first question I have is, as a woman, does this put you ahead of the game or deter you from climbing up the ladder? How do you survive and strive in this male-dominated profession? Who wants to take that one?
So I'll take that question. No, I don't think it does. So I think it actually makes you stand out more because in a sea of men, you're the only woman. So automatically all eyes are on you, right? So you actually stand out more, which is great, right? You don't even have to do much to stand out. So, so now it's your responsibility then to bring your hay game, right? So again, don't try to be a man or don't try to copy what everybody is doing. Bring yourself, bring your authentic self into the room, right? You don't have to shout over everybody. You don't have to like, can we circle back on this? You know, you don't have to do all this like technical jargon lingo, right? You don't have to do that. But if you feel like you're in an organization whereby you're doing that, then maybe that's not the fit for you. So for me, I always thought, I have to dress like guys, look like guys, blah, blah, blah. But guess what? I just blended in. But the moment I started being myself and started just kind of like owning my own, I started seeing that I just stand out. I just stand out and people actually want to hear what I have to say. And I've also get the opportunity to connect with a lot of women in C-level suites, right? Because whenever I'm in these type of events that mostly guys and there are women there, they just see me right away and they walk towards me like, oh, okay, who are you? What do you do? And my mentor's wife, I think she's like she's one of the executive vice president at TD, and she's actually the chief of staff at TD. And and she's one of those people that she's also kind of also been like a semi-mentor to me because my mentor is my main mentor and she's like second in command. But anyway, long story short is that it doesn't impede you from climbing the corporate ladder. Just make sure, like I said, you already stand out whether you like it or not. They see you. They may act like they don't see you. They see you. Trust me, they see you. But it's just it's basically your responsibility to bring your A game. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Anyone else really want to add on to that, or can I go to the next question? Everything was said. Next question. What new kinds of jobs do you see being created as automation eliminates jobs of today? Another fortune teller one. Rosemary, I feel like you're itching for it.
Yeah, it's in my hand. So what I see a lot of things from the engineering perspective anyway, but like especially when it comes to like manufacturing jobs, you have a lot of automation lines and so forth. That doesn't necessarily remove the worker from the factory, but now you can have people who service these robots, people who build them, program them. So yes, you may remove the factory workers, and that's just a very rudimentary example I'm giving, but then there's somebody who has to oversee those robots, oversee the coding, the training, all of these different things. So, I mean, that's just one example of the types of jobs that can come out from that, where you have people that oversee the systems. And then, of course, more ML engineers, more AI engineers, because we're the ones that are building all of these systems that can automate these jobs. So, I mean, you just create more space for more data scientists to come on in.
Excellent answer. What coding language do you think is the easiest to learn for someone who is interested in coding? And what resources would you use to use the language? This one's for Sifu. Well, it didn't say for Sifu, but you said you love coding.
So yes, I love coding, but I think that question like largely depends on what it is that you would like to do. Because I knew I wanted to go into data science, Python was a very natural choice. And I don't know, because I don't have a vast knowledge of multiple programming languages, but from what I understand, it's one of the easier ones to learn. But I think the coding language you're going to learn most easily is the one that you can actually put to use. I knew I wanted to do a lot of data analytics, build machine learning models, and there's a lot of packages and libraries that are built into Python that make it very ideal for those use cases. And so that was the most obvious. I would recommend anyone who wants to go into data, regardless of like which type of data practitioner you want to be, know thy SQL. I don't know if we call it a programming language as such, but you'll be miles ahead if you know SQL and you're able to query data and extract data and clean it and look at it that way. But yeah, Python, I'm a Python girl, so that's what I'm going with.
I can add to that. So with regards to the programming language, I would say, because there's so many programming language, so they're essentially like language, right? There's so many different languages. Essentially, there's so many different program languages. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, like your end goal, find the programming language that aligns with that end goal. If you want to be like a data admin, like you said, you do SQL. If you want to do more of like machine learning, probably Python. Like if you're in like actuary, they probably use more of a R. So it's just understanding where you're trying to go and understanding like the language that they use. So instead of you trying to learn any and every single language or the best language, because there's really no best language, it's just whatever tool or whatever language that's best for the whatever needs to be performed. So just think of the end goal and then try to find or identify the programming language for that specific end goal.
The next question, everyone wants to talk about this one.
Part of the question was what course we would recommend. I was thinking Python for Everybody. It's on Coursera. It's a really good course. So that's what I wanted to add. Sorry.
Oh, they didn't completely answer the question. Thanks for catching that. The next one is, how do you stand out to recruiters, especially as someone who is new and given the competitive nature of the data science field? Are any of the RBC or Borealis AI recruiters in the room? You want to help us out with the question?
I get a lot of respect for people who follow up on applications. So find out who recruits for the roles that you're looking for. So my LinkedIn profile says hiring data scientists at RBC. If you see my profile, you know that that's what I'm recruiting for. Send me a message, let me know the role that you've applied to. Send me the link to the posting. I'm like that. Most of my roles will get 100, 200 applications a lot of the time. So the people who will do that, put that extra legwork in, I'm going to set up a call with those people every time.
There you go, gems.
My role, I'll send it to the recruiter who is working on that and say, hey, this person contact me. Reach out to them.
Right, and everyone
Contact me.
request a connection. The next question is, what project are you the most proud of during your career? I know you've probably done so many amazing things, but I'm sure you can think of one that you're most proud of.
I can go ahead. So last year, one of the project that I did, it was more like just a test of how the business, specifically the marketing and communications team, can become data citizens. So I essentially build a machine learning model to predict, again, because I'm in the accounting and professional services field. So whenever they get a new request, they call them opportunities. And when they bid, because multiple companies are bidding on an opportunity, and whatever company wins it becomes an engagement, which is money for them. So essentially, I build a machine learning model to predict how many opportunities will become engagement, right? And then I presented it to my boss. My boss loved it. She presented it to her boss. Her boss loved it. She presented it to her boss, and the boss loved it. So we actually got to present to one of the C-level executives that's in charge of marketing and communications. So I got to present to him twice. He really loved the fact that, because when I also compared to predictions to the actual, it was, I believe, about 85%. accuracy. So which is essentially what they've been trying to do, because for them, the more accurate it is in terms of the opportunity, the less time the business spends on multiple opportunities, because they know the ones that are most likely to be a win, so they can focus on that. And then the C-level executive eventually told us, like, you know what, that's great, but we also want you to run some prediction and money left on the table, right? And long story short, we essentially work with a C-level executive, and he basically approved Azure Machine Learning, which we all know is a very expensive tool to use. So it pretty much approved the project to bring it from a POC that was just something that I was just playing around with to something that would now be used by the entire firm across Canada. So, yeah.
Oh, this one I want you all to answer. So go ahead.
I wasn't gonna focus on a specific project, but one thing I've been very proud of that I've done at work is building at scale and productionizing things. A lot of times we get in the habit of working in our little notebooks, and it's very satisfying to see results. It's always really cool to model fit and all that stuff. But being able to see something from its infancy while it's in prototype and seeing it scale to billions of records of data, and being able to then take that and productionize it and deploy it into real life and see the real impact that it has on the people that are benefiting from it, super dope. So I'm very proud of that.
A project I'm very proud of is when I worked on building a forecasting model for my previous company, and the model was used in helping them get acquired by a bigger company. So that's something I'm really proud of.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to my data engineering days. I worked in a place where I guess they were trying to get a lot of their data engineering infrastructure up to scratch. And yeah, it just felt like every day was a fire that we had to put out. But while we were managing the main fires, we still had to obviously keep all of the existing operations going. And yeah, so it's not really a big project, but someone wanted some data that I had to get from a system that I absolutely did not like. It didn't want to work for me half the times and so on. But I managed to do it. And then obviously had to do some manipulation on the data to get it to what the state that the person wanted it in. And so I did that in relative quick time, given the the status of the system at the time. And why I was really proud of it is like, okay, I gave it to her and say, oh wait, something else is missing. Can you do this? Okay, I make the changes really quick, send it back to her. She's like, that's great, thank you so much. And I thought that was the end of it. I was a contractor in this company, so I was not a direct employee. So she actually insisted on recognizing me. So went into the recognition system, named my boss, and then put on the order she named him, started saying, thank you, Rose, for helping us get this done in record time, and we really appreciate it, whatever. So he screenshotted and sent it to the entire group, and then our director of the group, chimed in and everything, and I was just like, wow, that was wow, that was really good. So yeah, I mean, it sounds simple, but yeah, I was really happy for that.
Okay, great. And my last question is about mentorship. So did you experience any challenges when seeking a mentor or a sponsor? And how did you overcome those challenges? So just for definition's sake, mentors usually seek advice from them. Sponsors, they're the people who speak about you when you're not in the room to help you get on projects. Who wants to tackle this one?
Okay, can you hear me now? So I'll tackle that question. So at the very beginning, I did had a bit of an issue connecting with mentors. You reach out to people on LinkedIn and, you never hear back. You reach out to a lot of people, you never hear back. And you start to get like, you just get to get like intimidated or frustrated. So I think what really helped me with that is just asking people around me, like, oh, do you know anybody in this field? And just having them conduct that introduction. So I found that was easier, and also attending events like this. So my very first event, the Black Technology Professionals in Technology Network, is actually how I met my now mentor. So being at events like this is how I was able to overcome it. And then just talking to people, right? After maybe one or two conversation, then that's when I ask, would you be my mentor? You don't just ask right away, because it's almost like you meet someone new and you're like, can I have $10? That's not the right way to do it, but you have to kind of like build that relationship. So, and also even for me, also even Googling it. I know we say Google a lot, but yeah, just Google, how do I get a mentor, or like, how do I enter the relationship? So yeah, so essentially that's how I was able to find a mentor. But another thing when it comes to mentorship also is that when you're in a mentorship relationship, it's an exchange of value. So it's not just you getting value, you have to make sure you're also providing value to the other person, right? So you also want to ask them, like, thank you so much for being a mentor, but how can I add value to you, right? So that's one of the things I learned with my Googling. And if your mentorship have some sort of like bandwidth or a timeline, make sure you also thank the person after the timeline, like, thank you for being a mentor, I really appreciate it. So just make sure that like you close the loop. If if your mentorship has some sort of like timeline, but even if your mentorship doesn't have a timeline, every now and then just send a message or a note, just say like, hey, I do appreciate you for being my mentor. Just know that, I just appreciate you. And those type of things, even if you can't mentor them back as a mentee, just them hearing those things really like means a lot to them. So yeah.
That was mostly mentorship. Do any of you have anything to add for sponsorship? I can tell you a little story all about how. I'm joking. I honestly don't know the words to that song. I used to have a sponsor. They used to speak about me in rooms I wasn't in. It helped me get on projects that helped build my career. And how I nurtured that relationship was I was just really eager and always about like 2 or 3 steps ahead of what that person wanted. So I was really good at anticipating needs. When you're someone who anticipates needs, it's easy to be invited into the room and to be advocated for, because you're someone who's always coming with new ideas and you're also committed to implementing the ideas as well. So that's how I went about sponsorship. So of course there's challenges, but it's really about finding those allies who aren't shy to speak about you in rooms you're not in. So that brings us to the end of our panel. As a reminder, our conference is on April 26th and 27th. The early bird tickets end tonight at 11 p.m. There is no extension. Do not come up to me on the side. I will not give it to you. I'm joking. But yeah, that does not conclude the event. You still have networking, and there's still some food that you can finish in the room outside. But as a thank you to the panelists, I have some little bags back here for them. And yeah, you can all go outside, be merry, eat, and whoever puts your name on your bingo card, if you have the most filled out on your bingo card, there is a prize. And I guess if there's multiple people, there's multiple prizes, but you can give in your bingo card at the registration table. And for those online, have a great evening. Yeah, you're fine.
I obviously need a photo of everyone.
I can take this.
I'm gonna get
Oh, man.
It didn't look like a struggle back here.
Oh, it was struggle bus over here.